Now, to add, where should you go to dance in Cuba? In my personal opinion, and I also did the research, I've never been all over the country, but as far as I understand, the only place in Cuba where you can have a normal life and okay, however, if you go 2 to 3 months, maybe even longer, yes, you should 100% definitely go to Cuba to dance, because by being there longer, you will cut down so much time from your learning curve. Just because you are exposed to people dancing all the time, you see them move, you see the way they dance to the music. It's just exposure, as I always tell my students. Having exposure, seeing the movements being done all over again in the appropriate context, to the appropriate song, the appropriate part of the song, the setting where it's done, all of that stuff, just seeing it all over and over again will really increase your results. 100%. So if you go for a longer period, if you go for a shorter, or think going for a shorter period, like 1 or 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, whatever. If you really want to go to Cuba and have like a sunny holiday as well, then do it. You know, for dancing, I'm not sure, but if you go for more than a month, then it becomes worth it in terms of dancing. And also, it depends on how you spend your time. I personally guess I took like 3 hours of dancing lessons per day on average, something like that. And I went out every single night, even when I didn't feel like it and I hated dancing, I always went out when I was in Havana for the last time. And yeah, so in the end, it's what you make of it. No question about that. That's also just my personal opinion in terms of skill acquisition. Yeah. So, but should you go generally? Yes, you should go. Even if it's just once in your lifetime, at least you get an insight about what it's really like. Yeah, but more about that later, because there's ways to be spent 2 weeks in Havana or even 3 months without getting any insight, or very little. Second question, where should I dance in Cuba? Now, I have not been in many other cities in Cuba besides Havana, but there's a reason for that. When I did my initial research and I asked people, I was looking for the best place to dance, and I was there for only dancing, and I wasn't interested in anything else. And as a result, and also I should add, I was also looking for a place where I could just have a comparably normal life. I didn't want everything to be like one big tourist show. So kind of naturally, I ended up choosing Havana. And in my opinion, and once again, I haven't been in Santiago de Cuba, but based on my research, me talking to people, if you want to have an autonomous experience where you just go out dancing a lot and you take lessons and you're not being hassled for things all the time, you will be hassled anyway, but still Havana would be your best choice. Why? Because it's the biggest city, because it has lots of people coming in, and naturally the more people you have, the more people will be there that dance. Yeah, most big dance schools, most big dance schools obviously in the country will be located in Havana, simply because there's more people. Also because it gets more tourists than other places. These dance schools will be, I guess, more well organized in Western terms, in a way that doesn't make you go crazy when you want to book something, and which is, it's comparable in terms of like standard of service and so forth. And once again, I have to add, I haven't been in Santiago. It's just what I've heard. Santiago being the second biggest city as far as I know, but it's often talked about as the alternative to Havana, also really good for dancing. But then again, I'm somebody, I don't want to go somewhere with a guide all the time. I just want to go have a place where I can go to parties, where I know where the parties are, where they are kind of accessible for me as a tourist with okay Spanish, like understanding a lot but not being able to say too much. And so this was really important to me, and I think in terms of dancing also, you want to stay in Havana. You know, if you want to have a focused learning experience, just stick with what you know or what I figured out to be working. There will be dance in pretty much any place you go to in Cuba, but I'm just thinking a little bit of in terms of like mastery, you know, spending your time in the most effective way, because I have a bit of OCD. Now, if you decide to go to Havana, where should you dance? Now, in terms of social dancing, which I recommend you to do a lot, and which I even recommend you to do more than classes, if you have to decide, let's say you don't energetically manage to dance more than 3 hours a day, I would think go social dancing, because you can see all the things that you also get from a teacher just by being around Cuban dancers and being attentive, looking at what they do at particular moments. Specifically, now there is a bit of an issue. There was a club in Havana which was the most popular for a long time for all for the kind of more financially well-off dance teachers, Cuban dance teachers, as well as tourists, because the entry fee is quite high. It's five euros or even more during some nights, and obviously the average Cuban can't or won't or doesn't want to afford that. Now this club was called 1800, so like that's 1830. That was the name of the club. When I was there, it actually closed during that time because of some renovation, and renovations take a lot of time on Cuba, or possibly even forever. So we were moved to this other place, or the organizers moved the same party or the same idea to another place, which was called El Chevere. I think that was the name. Maybe the intonation was wrong, but it was the name. And then when I left, they opened 1800 again. And 1800, as I told you, it was the most popular thing. Like everyone who went to Havana during the last couple of years would probably have gone there at some point, because it's just where the more, I mean, there's probably lots of hidden house parties as well, where there's just Cubans and they don't want any foreigners. But in this case, I think this was the place to go. It was open like 4 or even 5 nights a week, sometimes having concerts for very affordable prices. I still remember the day where I went to, I mean, it happened several times, but I went to a Elito Reve concert for like 10 euros, which is absolutely ridiculous because it's like one of the biggest names in Cuban salsa. And just going to a normal party here in Europe might cost you 10 euros. And it was kind of just ironic that you could see like a live concert and actually being in the first row, because people were just casually like going about their dinner and stuff, and nobody was actually standing up right in front of them at this particular night, and just being in the first row and not even having, you know, like fight for your space, because people were just doing what they did. And you know, this was the place to do that. And like I said, then they moved it, and when I left Havana, they opened it again. And then I heard, or my friends told me, that it closed pretty much right away after that again. Now the latest news as of like now, and now is the beginning of March 2020, for future reference for people who will watch this in 100 years. It is open apparently, but we don't know that. So it could close for some mysterious reason again. But I really hope for you that it will be open, because it's beautiful, it's working well, the organization is done properly, it's by the ocean, it is just a nice place to go to. So 1830, I don't think this is 1830, the thing I did with my finger, but so this is the place to go to. Other places, generally speaking, there is Casa della Musica, which is often hosting concerts. The problem with that for me, I mean, if you want to see Havana de Primera, LA in Paris, Elito Reve, everyone pretty much at some point they will probably play at Casa della Musica. The problem with that for me personally is that there is no space. It's more like a dinner arrangement in terms of seats, and I guess I want to dance, so it makes me really crazy and uncomfortable when there's music I want to dance to and there's no space. Like, this is just me. When I hear the music, I need to dance, or I don't want to be there. I don't just want to listen to the music. The value in the music for me is in being able to dance to it. So I never usually went there for that particular reason, because I'm there for dancing. But if you just want to hear the concerts, and you still can dance obviously on the spot, but I want to be free and not feel like I'm just knocking somebody in the face at any given time. Other places than that, there is and I will try to put the names into the description in the video below. There is another place, so I literally just had to Google that because I forgot the name. Another place which is regular having parties is Hotel Inglaterra. So they have a band playing several times, no, not several times per week, maybe twice a week on the top of the rooftop. So Hotel Inglaterra. The days might have changed, so you just go up there. Casa del Son is also organizing dance places. Sometimes Casa del Son is a dance school, which I can tell you more about in a second.